This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, and welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Friday, July 11th, 2025. We're going to go through the preview and prediction show here for Saturday Night Main Event and for Evolution. I'm going to try to get to the mailbag on the back end of the show. I'm very limited on time today. I'm going to be traveling back home tonight, so I'm trying to squeeze in a show right now. And if I don't get to the mailbag or if we get cut short, I'll add it to the review show that we do for Saturday Night Main Event and Evolution. So keep that in mind. I want to get this out right now, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. By the way, you can go ad-free at patreon.com/WWE Podcast, or Apple Podcast offers an ad-free option as well if you're interested in getting rid of the ads you hear about every 10 minutes. So there's ways to get rid of it. Now, we're going to jump right into the card. Again, this is going to be probably pretty abbreviated. Starting with Saturday night's main event. Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso for the United States Championship. This one's a no-brainer. There's just really no chance that Solo Sikoa loses here. They took the belt, or gave the belt to Sikoa over the last month or two, right? So they're not going to have him drop it to Jimmy Uso, a guy that has the most mediocre momentum of anybody on the roster right now. A guy that is still trying to find his own way, trying to find his own voice. Jimmy Uso has certainly not found it like his counterpart yet, his brother. So I think that Solo Sikoa retains. It could be because of JC Mateo, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa. One of the guys that starts with a T is really why Jimmy Uso is going to lose this match. And I expect a solid match, one that really wouldn't be anything better than what you'd see on a Friday Night SmackDown main event. I think that's probably what we're going to be seeing here. Looking forward to it, but this outcome is fairly predictable. Now, Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. This matchup interests me from the perspective of who needs the momentum more and what is this for? Because we have Drew McIntyre coming off of a loss, a big loss, several months ago before he took his leave and healed himself up. And we have Randy Orton also, who is Randy Orton. I mean, Randy Orton is a guy that nearly won the WWE Championship from John Cena 6 weeks ago. And Randy Orton could be positioned to be back in that scene again after SummerSlam. So when I look at this, though, who needs it more? The answer is pretty clear. The answer is Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre needs this match more than Randy Orton. Because Drew McIntyre, to me, has been behind the scenes since 3 months before WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre needs to get himself going, and what better way to get himself going than to beat Randy Orton? I don't care if it's by hook, by crook, interference. I'd prefer it to be straight up, but my guess is that Randy Orton is going to lose here to Drew McIntyre, and it could be by happenstance, it could be by straight up. I hope it is, but I think that Randy Orton takes the L. Drew McIntyre needs this win more than Randy Orton does. And my hope is, though, that if they give Drew this victory, that they actually do something with it. That it's actually Drew McIntyre doing something, giving Drew something solid to actually do something after this victory. Now, what does that mean? Well, hopefully inserting him into the title picture after SummerSlam, because we know Cody and John Cena are destined for a title match at SummerSlam, with Cody Rhodes winning King of the Ring. So I think Drew being inserted for whoever wins that after would be the right call. And by the way, I apologize for the humming in the background. I am There's somebody mowing the lawn where I'm at, okay? So I'm trying to talk over that. But I promise I'll be back in the studio where it's nice and quiet in a couple days. So I just think that Drew is due a title run. And I will say, though, that I wish John Cena's final opponent could be Edge. I want to, totally off topic, I know, but Edge would be the perfect opponent for John Cena in his final match in December. Unlikely, because Adam Copeland is under contract with AEW through 2026, from what I understand, through October of 2026. So it doesn't look like the stars are going to align for Edge and John Cena to lock up, which is really disappointing given the storied history between Edge and John Cena, the promos that those two could cut. It'd be awesome. But if Drew is the one to eventually take the belt off of John Cena, I think nobody would complain about that. In fact, I would argue Drew is one of the top, if not the top contender for that to happen, because Drew has yet to really hold a championship since changing his persona, over a year ago, and becoming his own version of a heel that we haven't seen, where he just tells the truth. He's actually telling the truth. He's just going after the guys that we like, or the guys that the fans generally like. I shouldn't say me or we, but so let's continue on here. Seth Rollins and LA Knight. This match interests me because LA Knight has been really shot to the top here in the last several weeks, meaning he's been in the main event scene consistently now for, better part of a month, showing up on Raw, getting the better of Seth Rollins, getting good crowd reactions. Is this potentially a setup for LA Knight to win the World Championship? There's a case to be made for it, because we have yet to see LA Knight consistently in a world title picture. The last we saw was him with Roman Reigns when Roman was on his 4-year run. And I think that having him take the belt off of Gunther is possible, but right now he's targeting Seth. We know Seth is eventually going to capture the world title, so it doesn't look like they're setting up for an LA Knight title victory, but the idea that he's in the main event consistently is a good thing if you're an LA Knight fan. Now, who wins this? Well, I think Seth Rollins probably wins this. He's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. He's got a lot of momentum. LA Knight got the better of Seth on the night before, or the week before the PLE, which, rule of thumb, although not a hard and fast rule, one that's never broken, of course, is that we have the person who gets the advantage lose at the event, the week before. So to me, it's LA Knight who loses this. Seth Rollins continues his momentum, and LA Knight maybe sticks around the title picture, or maybe sticks around the upper mid card. But I don't think this is right now a LA Knight main event world title, I should say, main event title push for LA Knight. I think this is right now a way to see how the crowd reacts to a Seth Rollins LA Knight matchup. How much do they get behind LA Knight? Is this something worth pursuing down the line with LA Knight as world champion? Maybe this is one of those tests. But the crowds continue to support LA Knight, no doubt about it. All right, Gunther versus Bill Goldberg for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think this one is going to be longer than we expect. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. This one is going to be longer than 3 minutes, because Gunther has said it's going to be, because he's going to punish Goldberg. So this is not going to be your 3-minute special, even on either end. It's not going to be Goldberg beating Gunther in 3 minutes. It's not going to be Gunther beating Goldberg in 3 minutes. They're going to try to string this out as much as they can. Goldberg is in his hometown. He's in front of his family. Gunther is going to absolutely punish Goldberg in front of his family, get heat from the crowd. Crowd should get behind Goldberg, I would think, in his retirement match here. And ultimately, it's probably going to be 10-12 minutes with Gunther doing a lot of the work. A much slower paced match from what we're used to. This is going to be a match in slow motion with an explosion of power, a spear, and then a kick out, and then Gunther hitting a power bomb and a kick out, and then 5 minutes of rear naked chokes and holds, and a kick and a pause, and it's going to be one of those slower paced matches, and I think we're all kind of understand that at this point. But ultimately, Gunther wins. There is no scenario, none, in which it makes sense for any reason for Goldberg to win the world title. None. There is nothing you could tell me. There is no scenario that would make sense. I don't care if it's Goldberg with his family celebrating the title and then relinquishing it. That is, to me, damaging to Gunther. Why does Goldberg get a world title shot every single time he comes back is another question. I'm not going to hammer Goldberg here for his pace of the match, for his inability to have anything other than 2 moves, because this is Goldberg's final match. It's his final match. We should just enjoy it. We really should, because this is the last time we will ever see Goldberg competing inside of a ring. And we should appreciate that. We really should, because that's it. 10 minutes, and then that's it for the rest of our lives. So, yeah, Gunther wins. Just nothing else about this should no other scenario should play out here. Let's not fool around. So, let's see. That was the Evolution, or rather the Saturday night main event. We now have Evolution here. Let's go through the card. So, what's happening here? Well, the Evolution card, Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. Let's just get into it. I expect a lot out of this match. A lot. I expect this match to be a blast. I expect this match to be brutal. Brutal in the way that it's physical, not with weapons. Very, very much physical. Both women are excellent inside the ring. They have very stiff, particularly Rhea Ripley, a very stiff style, and I like that. Io Sky is truly a magician inside the ring. I expect this to be 15, 16 minutes with a lot of fun near falls. Probably This Is Awesome chants going on. Io Sky, this is not easy, but I think she retains. Although Rhea Ripley winning here wouldn't be the craziest thing, but Io Sky has got a lot of momentum. I wouldn't want to cut her short. I think there's more of a case to be made for Io Sky to win this, to continue her ascent, than to give the belt to Rhea. That's not going to do much for her, because everybody kind of considers Rhea Ripley a women's champion, even if she doesn't have a title around her waist. So this is going to be a fun match. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. All right. We then have Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I expect a lot out of this. And it's a triple threat, which does add an element of champion doesn't need to get pinned to lose. We know that whole narrative that gets pushed every single time there's a triple threat. I think Becky Lynch retains. Lyra just dropped it. Bayley doesn't seem to be in a position to hold it. Becky Lynch has only held it for like a month or so. There's no need to have Becky Lynch for any reason drop this. This kind of be playing hot potato here. I don't need it. Becky Lynch is obviously top tier performer. You could have somebody coming out here that we're not expecting to join Becky Lynch in kind of a heel maneuver here to have her start some kind of group. But Becky Lynch retains, probably off of Nightwing on Bayley, or Bayley hitting Lyra with Bayley to belly, or Rosebud, and then Becky Lynch capitalizes on that and wins the match. But ultimately, yes, Becky Lynch should retain this this matchup. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus for the Women's Championship. I'm not super excited about this, I have to say. I'm good if I never see Trish compete again, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I've accepted that we're never going to see her again, and she keeps popping up. Now, I know she's a legend in the women's division, in women's wrestling. She can still go. She had her best match with Becky Lynch in their series of 48 matches 2 years ago. But Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton, I don't actually expect a ton of holy yes chants out of this. This is going to be probably a 8 to 10 minute match with Tiffany Stratton retaining. So I think 3 retentions so far, with Rhea Ripley being the one that is the most likely so far to win out of any title change that's possible out of these 3 I've just talked about. So Tiffany Stratton retains women's championship here. No need to have Trish Stratus win. She's a name on the card that they're trying to use to bolster the Evolution event. So, all right, Fatal 4-Way for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Sol Ruca and Zarya. All right. This one I can see a title change, and the reason is these titles don't matter. I could absolutely see Asuka and Kairi Sane winning. In fact, that's what I'm going with. They just reunited this week. The Kabuki Warriors are an excellent tag team. They are much better together than separate at this point. And Charlotte and Alexa, they're not really a tag team. They're two individuals that were put together. Raquel and Roxanne, you could make a case they're actually a tag team, but right now, them dropping the belts would cause tension inside the Judgment Day even more, with Roxanne maybe being the reason that Raquel loses or vice versa. That leads to more tension, which leads to a potential Liv Morgan return. And what does Liv do when she comes back and sees that Roxanne has taken her place and they lost the belts because Liv wasn't there? I mean, there's a lot you can do. So to me, that's the only one that is really plausible here if you're going to drop the belts, and that's Asuka and Kairi. Sol Ruca and Zarya, no. I mean, just no. They're a newer team. The AAA acquisition has certainly provided new talent, but no. Alexa and Kairi win the tag team titles. Or I'm sorry, Asuka and Kairi win the tag team titles. All right, a battle royal for the women's title. I mean, this one is pretty easy. I think that Nikki Bella is the one to take this. Nikki Bella is and was scheduled before Liv Morgan's injury to have a championship match. So I don't think that they're going to position Nikki Bella to win a championship, but perhaps they're going to make good on her lost opportunity because of an unfortunate injury with Liv Morgan, to have Nikki Bella get an opportunity at the championship by winning this battle royal. I mean, there's not much else to say. Nobody's really excited about this. And I don't even know, does anybody know when the title match is going to take place for whoever wins this? I don't know if that was ever determined. Not SummerSlam, I know that, but probably on a SmackDown or the next PLE after SummerSlam. I'm not sure. All right, Jade Cargill and Naomi in a no-holds-barred match. What I will say for Jade, it's probably the best for her that this is a no-holds-barred match, because it's able to mitigate some of her weaknesses, hide some of her weaknesses, because you're going to have Jade in a position to use weapons and tables, hopefully it's a Slim Jim sponsored table, and use those in place of actually, having a match. While Jade is certainly capable of having a match with Naomi, she showed it at WrestleMania, this adds a new flavor, and again, it is helpful for Jade to win now, or to hide what she's not good at, which is just having a lengthy match. So who wins this? I hope Naomi, but I think Jade is going to win. Why? Because Jade is positioned to have a championship match at SummerSlam. So you can't have somebody who's just in a few weeks' time going to have a match at SummerSlam lose the match just a few weeks before to somebody that's not a contender. So I want Naomi to win. I wish she would, but based on booking forward, you want Jade to look as strong as possible and have her win. However, the caveat beyond that logic is, does the crowd start to fully reject her? They have not been endearing them, or she hasn't been endearing herself to the audience very well at all lately. And the crowd is seemingly turning a little bit sour on Jade. Does that trend continue? If they have her win this match, it's not going to help things, because people are relating to Naomi. They respect Naomi in a way that they don't respect Jade yet. So I think Jade is in trouble here if she wins the match from a crowd perspective. This really could be the start of a heel turn for Jade, inadvertently. But maybe the crowd embraces her, and I'm completely wrong. But I think Jade Cargill wins this simply because, not that we want her to, and not that the crowd wants her to, but because of the logic of the fact that she's going to have a championship match in just a few weeks' time at SummerSlam, because she won Queen of the Ring. All right, final match. Boy, there are, 7 matches on this card? Leads you to believe this is not going to be a long PLE, or rather a long match PLE. These matches are going to go fairly quick. JC Jane versus Jordynne Grace, NXT Women's Championship. I think Jordynne Grace wins the NXT Women's Championship. They've been low-key trying to push her. Every time they make she comes out, the crowd reacts to her. I think Jordynne Grace is poised to win the NXT Women's Championship from JC Jane, and that's just how I feel. I mean, outside of that logic, I don't have another strong reason other than just the crowd has seemingly embraced her. She's a veteran of the business. She may be somewhat new to the WWE landscape, but wrestling fans are smart. They've followed her work. They know who she is. She looks like a champion. She walks like a champion. She positions herself like a champion. I think this would be a nice way, especially on a PLE, to anoint Jordynne Grace as the NXT Women's Champion. So, to recap, we have, and this is the tough one, Io Sky retaining against Rhea, although that's tricky. Becky Lynch retaining the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Tiffany Stratton retaining the Women's Championship. We have Asuka and Kairi winning the Women's Tag Team Championships. We have Nikki Bella winning the Women's Battle Royal for a women's title match. We have Jade begrudgingly beating Naomi in a no-holds-barred match. And Jordynne Grace winning the NXT Women's Championship from JC Jane. There you go. Let's see how right or wrong I am with that. Now, quickly, going through maybe an email or two. We have one from Darius. Darius says, when do you think Cena will drop the belt? Possibly at SummerSlam, because I'm getting tired of John and Cody arguing. Even though Cody's range of boring as a babyface, it is the right time and place to do it. I'm loving the rumors of Randy and Cody's potential heel turn. Then it would be more interesting to have Cody as a champion. Maybe John can when it's back later in the year as a babyface, because I don't think WWE will let him leave the company as a heel. Well, I've been very steadfast that I don't care what they do with John Cena. They could and I've been very extreme and dramatic and over the top about this analogy, but there's a grain of truth to this. John Cena could light a fan on fire in the middle of the ring in the next several months, and the crowd wouldn't care. They're going to cheer because the crowd is just ready. The crowd is ready to just shower their love on John Cena, appreciative of his career, what he's done. It's now coming down to the wire. The human element of the reality of the realization of the reality that John Cena is going away will supersede anything that they try to do with Cena as a heel. As good as Cena is on the mic, and he is a master on the mic, we know that, it's not going to matter how many times he runs down the fans, blames them, calls this an abusive relationship, makes fun of us, points out fans, tells us that he doesn't care about us. It doesn't matter. It's, ram on our sports teams in the city. Doesn't matter. The crowd is going to organically turn to love John Cena in the last several months of his career. It's already happening now. So they're not going to try to turn him or not try to keep him heel. The crowd is going to organically turn him no matter what they do. There's just nothing that can be done. And I'm on the record of that. Now, as far as Cody turning heel, there was certainly a tease by Cody saying this is the end of a chapter and seemingly teasing a heel turn. But Cody's a smart guy. Despite what I think about him on a professional level, he's clearly a very smart guy, okay? Why would he, at this point, be teasing us with a heel turn instead of just surprising us with one? There is no need, as a top guy in business who's a top babyface, to tease us with a heel turn. You should do it when no one's thinking about it, when no one sees it coming. That's when you do it. So I actually don't think we're anywhere near a Cody heel turn, because why would we do it when Cody's teasing it on social media, putting it out to millions of people? It'd be foolish. And if that happens, then Cody's a fool on a real level. Dude, don't tell us. We love surprises. So, and as far as when do I think John Cena will drop the belt, I think SummerSlam's a very real possibility. In fact, I think it's a 50-50 shot he drops it there. He's certainly not going to go all the way through his entire run here and drop it in December. I think it's probably before then. And there's a couple matches at the end of his career here in October, November, December that are just nostalgic, fun, good old John Cena in his, in John Cena mode, having some matches with guys that you just wanted to have one more match with. John Cena, this heel run is coming to an end. It's flaming out. It just is. Because there's 13, 12 dates left on his calendar. People are going to realize that real quick, and they already are. So I think John Cena if you're going to put a gun to my head, loses it at SummerSlam, maybe back to Cody, and then Cody and Randy have their matchup that I think is long overdue. There you go. I could be totally wrong, and John Cena holds it past SummerSlam. And I mean, there's an outside chance he goes all the way to mid-December in his final match and has his final match still be a championship match. But I hope they don't do that. I hope they have him drop it, and we all say thank you, and we can move on. Whew. All right. One more, DJ. I got to abbreviate your email, DJ, because of my time. Here's your predictions. We got Gunther and Goldberg. You think that Gunther retains. You're predicting Randy beats Drew. Solo retains. And Seth beats LA Knight. And for Evolution, EO wins, or EO retains, I should say. Tiffany retains against Trish Stratus. Naomi wins against Jade. Becky retains the Women's Intercontinental Championship. JC retains against Jordan Grace. Alexa and Charlotte become the new tag team champs. And Stephanie Vacour wins the Women's Battle Royal. Oh, okay, thank you for... And you know what? Thank you, DJ, because I do remember seeing a graphic about the winner of this gets a shot at Clash in Paris. So thank you. Stephanie Vacour is absolutely up there, but here's the thing. Is the crowd ready to... And Stephanie on the main roster is brand new. On the main roster, she's brand new. Is the crowd ready to embrace her in a championship opportunity? I think she is number 2 for me. I still believe Nikki Bella's number 1. Nikki Bella, Stephanie Vacour, a close second. But thank you for clarifying about when the opportunity for a championship match takes place. Clash in Paris. So thank you, DJ. Awesome weekend in wrestling. Yes, it absolutely will be. And thank you so much. All right. So let me see if there's anything else. There might be one. Let's try to get to a voicemail or two, and we'll wrap it up. And that'll be that.
This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag Show. Records you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name. As I take you to my 52nd episode of the Drudge Report, and like always, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. Before we get to today's episode, I just want to let you know that we are 2 weeks away. That's right, folks. 2 weeks away to TNA Slammiversary, TNA's WrestleMania style event, which will be happening on Sunday, July 20th, live from Elmont, New York, in Long Island at the UBS Arena. As of right now, as of this recording, we now have 7 matches on the card. Last week we had 3 that was recorded. Now we have an additional 4 to make it 7 matches. So I'm going to quickly go through this list. Of course, we have for the TNA World Championship a triple threat of Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry versus Mr. Mike Santana. For the TNA X Division Championship, we have Moose versus Leon Slater. We have a fatal 4-way for the TNA World Tag Team titles, and they consist of the Nemeth brothers of Ryan Nemeth and Nick Nemeth, the tag team champions, versus the Hardys of Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, versus the Rascals of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, versus First Class of AJ Francis, aka Top Dollar, and KC Navarro. Now here are the 4 additional matches, and it goes as follows. Tessa Blanchard versus Indy Hartwell. We have Mustafa Ali, that's right folks, Mustafa Ali versus Cedric Alexander. Cedric Alexander has recently been added to TNA, and they will rekindle their rivalry on Slammiversary of Mustafa Ali versus Cedric Alexander. We also have for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles, which basically are the female World Tag Team titles, and they are the champions, the Elegance brand of Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance. They'll be taking on the Inspiration. If you remember the Inspiration in WWE, they were known as the Iconics. A couple of weeks ago, the Iconics, aka the Inspiration, made their return to TNA, and of course they consist of Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay. They will be competing for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles at TNA Slammiversary. And then last but not least, a very interesting NXT and TNA collaboration, and this is for the major women's world titles, and that is a title for titles match of Masha Slamovich, the TNA Knockouts champ, versus JC Jane, the NXT Women's Champ. Whoever wins this match will have both the TNA Knockouts Championship belt and the NXT Championship. But here's a very interesting stipulation here. This coming Sunday at Evolution, there will be a match between Jordynne Grace versus JC Jane. JC Jane is the current champion on NXT. If JC Jane loses, and of course Jordynne Grace becomes the new NXT Women's Champion, she will be facing Masha Slamovich at TNA Slammiversary. So there's a lot of moving parts here. I like this idea of a title-for-title match of Masha Slamovich versus either JC Jane or Jordynne Grace at TNA Slammiversary. But now let's get to the Joe Hendry report, which took place pre-tape again from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as we had a very interesting talking segment in the final part of this episode of TNA Pro Wrestling. And it was Mr. Frankie Kazarian as he had his debut show called The King's Speech. And of course, it was Mr. Frankie Kazarian as he was the host, and he invited the 3 opponents that's going to be in this triple threat for the TNA World Championship. He first invited Mr. Joe Hendry, followed by Mike Santana, and of course, the TNA World Champion, Trick Williams. He gave each of them an opportunity to talk, and let's get to this talking segment called The King's Speech. And Trick starts it off by saying, the truth is, he has defeated both Hendry and Santana for the TNA World title on separate occasions. And he declares that at Slammiversary, he will do it again in this triple threat. Then we get Santana as he gets on the microphone and says that he wants to be the best in the world. And to do that, he has to become the world champion at Slammiversary. And last and certainly not least, Joe Hendry gets the microphone and says that the TNA fans, they love to chant, "Whoop that Trick," but they want to see Trick get whooped. Hendry goes on to say that he respects Mike Santana's abilities, passion, but one day he will become a TNA World Champion. He will be that top guy, but he wants Mike Santana to respect Joe Hendry because the fans still chant, "We believe." Trick interrupts and says, "Lies, lies, lies." Hendry lied for a long time, stating that he was the guy in TNA, but he couldn't finish the job at NXT Battleground. He also says that Mike Santana lied to his daughter because he failed to win the TNA World title on an episode of NXT when he lost to Trick Williams. Then we see, after the talking segment, after when Mr. Frankie Kazarian says his final 2 cents, that how Trick Williams is the most worthiest of people to regain and keep the TNA World title after Slammiversary, we get to see an attack of Trick Williams as he attacks both Mike Santana and Joe Hendry, which leads to a brawl as both Trick Williams and Frankie Kazarian beat down on Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. We also see Trick Williams using the TNA World title belt to attack Joe Hendry and knock him out. And then Trick Williams goes for a knee-high trick shot to Mike Santana as he gets knocked out as the heels stand tall to close off this episode of TNA Pro Wrestling. But leading into TNA Slammiversary, Mike Santana and Joe Hendry have to work together to take on High Rise on the next episode of NXT. And let's get to that match, folks, of Joe Hendry and Mike Santana versus Tyson and Tyreek of High Rise. This match lasted 8 minutes and 43 seconds. But as we fast forward to the course of this match, after when Santana delivered a belly-to-back suplex to Tyson, Santana goes to the top turnbuckle. But then all of a sudden, here comes Wesley as he tries to distract the referee and Santana. Meanwhile, outside the ring, Trick Williams appears and shoves Joe Hendry into the ringside steps. Then Santana quickly knocks out Wesley with a massive forearm to Wes's face. Tyson tries to get to Santana in the corner of the ring, but Santana moves quickly out the way as Tyson goes face first into the top turnbuckle. Santana then goes for the spinning discus lariat, also known as the spinning the block on Tyson, and 1, 2, 3, Hendry and Santana get the victory. But then, after when the match was over, we get a quick post-match beatdown from Trick Williams as he delivers a spinning trick kick to Mike Santana. And then Hendry gets back into the ring as Hendry and Williams begin to brawl. But then all of a sudden, Wesley comes back into the ring and delivers a super kick to Joe Hendry and knocks him out. And High Rise proceeds to beat down on Joe Hendry while Wesley beats down on Mike Santana. And here's the final blow, folks. With High Rise holding Joe Hendry, they shoved Joe into the direction of Trick Williams as Trick Williams delivers yet again another knee-high trick shot to Joe Hendry. And once again, the heels stand tall over Joe Hendry and Mike Santana as the road to this triple threat for the TNA World Championship continues at Slammiversary. But also remember, this coming Saturday at the Great American Bash, it will be the contract signing of Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, and Mike Santana for the TNA World Championship. Always remember to believe, say his name. Always remember the words that Joe Hendry says anytime, any place, at any show. And most importantly, always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Well, thank you as always, DJ. Very detailed in your analysis. Very much appreciated to keep us abreast of what is going on with Joe Hendry on the TNA side of things and the triple threat for the TNA World title that's going to be taking place at Slammiversary. I actually may check that out. I have not exactly been a consistent viewer with TNA. I know a lot of the listeners don't consistently watch TNA, but maybe you're gravitating us into that world because Joe Hendry is a guy, not just with Joe Hendry, of course, but we've got Trick Williams, as you've mentioned, a longtime adversary of Joe Hendry, certainly making things interesting. Hearing and seeing Joe Hendry, get beat down by heels, as you're telling us, because I didn't see it, I'm taking your word for it. Getting beat down on a weekly basis last couple of weeks is a good thing to have happen. That's a good reset for any babyface. If you're feeling like they're getting some momentum, slow down, or they're even reversing course, I think that's a great way, Joe Hendry no exception, to kind of correct a little bit, get the sympathy back on the babyface, having the heels week after week get the best of the baby faces. I don't think that happens enough. It's not a tried and true, cure all, but it's something that is certainly a way to build that anticipation of seeing the heel get their ass handed to them. And I don't think we get enough of that in pro wrestling in general because the promotions are so interested in making sure that we go home happy, but they don't use the emotion of anger enough. That emotion of anger and anticipation of getting to see the heel, finally get put down by the babyface, overcoming the odds or whatever the case. I don't think we're seeing that enough in pro wrestling generally. So hearing Joe Hendry get beat down a couple of weeks in a row is not a bad thing. The thing is, does he win at Slammiversary? I do wonder. I mean, I'll leave that to you to decide. Does he win, or do they give the belt to somebody else? It's certainly something that I can't speak on intelligently. I'll leave that to you, DJ, and others that watch TNA. But yeah, I think that's good. And also let me know, I guess DJ or anybody, if you've been listening to the crowd reactions for Joe Hendry. I know it was a sticking point a few weeks ago that the crowd reactions seemed to be waning and that maybe he was a flash in the pan. And I don't know if that's still the case. With the crowd reactions for Hendry. The thing is that concerns me with him. I've seen his in-ring work. That's not really the issue. He had a big moment at WrestleMania with Randy Orton. But my concern is he a one-trick pony with just an entrance? People love the music and the turn and the smile. He's got an infomercial smile. He's got a car salesman smile. He's a smile that you could put on a billboard. But my concern is that there's nothing beyond that for him. Is that all he's got to bring? Now, again, in the ring, I think he's fine. His finish move is good. Choke slam's fine. But my concern is that people are more love the music than him. You could say the same thing for Cody, but Cody's built a relationship off of that music. Yes, the crowd still loves that music. It's a great song it's one of the most perfect wrestling entrance music themes I've ever heard. But my concern is for Joe, can Joe grab onto the fans in a way that's not just, hey, listen to my music, let's participate in the entrance, and then after that, they seem to kind of fall off. I hope it's not a superficial love for Hendry, and the way you'll find out if it is time. Time. Do they consistently follow him during the match, Does he get a reaction when he wins? Is it all about the entrance, or is there more? The best example I can think of somebody that seemingly was all entrance and nothing else is Bobby Roode. When he got to WWE, he was glorious, and that's all we knew. That's all he was. Glorious, glorious, glorious. He's glorious. I'm glorious. You're glorious. That's all we freaking knew. And I hope that's not the case for Joe. It doesn't seem like it is, but I am a little bit, watchful of that. So that, I think, will conclude a little bit of the mailbag here. We did go through the predictions, and that may be it. If you guys want to go ad-free, again, patreon.com/WWE podcast is the place to go. You can head on over to Apple as well and click on the subscribe button, go ad-free. Both offer 7-day free trials. Good time to do it during the PLE double-headed weekend here of Evolution and Saturday Night Main Event. I will be back, maybe even both Saturday night and Sunday night, depending on the results of the shows. If the show's results are big enough, I will be back Saturday night with your review, but I need to kind of take a breath from my vacation, trying to record and family and everything. But certainly, if it's warranted, I will be back. Certainly on Sunday, it'll be no matter what. I'll be back on Sunday for the Evolution / Saturday Night Main Event wrap-up. And then we'll be off to a non-PLE week next week before SummerSlam comes to us, I think, the following week. I mean, SummerSlam, I think it's like 2 weeks away. It's just wild. I mean, SummerSlam is just too quick of a turnaround. But either way, I appreciate everybody listening so much. I hope you guys are having a good week, staying cool. And I'll be talking to you in a day or two. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.